3 hours.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly board session. It's Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. We're in the Senator Hearing Room, 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem. As always, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And right off the bat, we need to add something. Oh, there's no one signed up for public comment.
Mr. Chair, I will move that we add an item to the consent agenda under business services. The item is to approve a contract for services with Service Master of Salem for the rental and installation of temporary cooling equipment for the court annex located at the Marion County Jail.
I second the motion.
The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Nobody signed up, but we have a couple.
Are there people here who would like to sign up for public comment? No? Okay. Okay, no one signed up for public comment. Our consent agenda is now updated. And so I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I think it's my turn, Mr. Chair. Under the consent agenda, I move it first under Board of Commissioners, OLCC application recommended approval, Salem Quick Shop LLC, DBA Salem Quick Shop, Salem, Oregon. Under Human Resources, approve a recommendation to update classification and adjust the pay grade upward for class codes number 176, Quality Improvement Facilitator number 183, Chief Human Resources Officer number 276, Correction Health Program Supervisor number 309, Public Works Director number 345, Scale Attendant number 409, Environmental Specialist number 513, Mental Health Specialist license number 551, Mental Health Associate number 552, Mental Health Specialist 1, number 554, Mental Health Specialist 2, number 555, Mental Health Specialist 3, number 565, IT System Architect, number 607, County Counsel, number 658, IT Systems Analyst. Under Public Works, receive a notice of a hearings officer's decision recommending approval of zone change, comprehensive plan change, case number 23-001, Pacific Beaverton Land Company, LLC, and schedule a public hearing for September 13, 2023. And finally, under Business Services, approve a contract for services with Service Master of Salem in the amount of $37,015.45 for the rental of an installation of temporary cooling equipment for the court annex located at Marion County Jail, retroactive to August 11th, 2023 through September 11th, 2023.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. Okay, and then next up, we are going to consider approval of an architecture and engineering standard professional services contract with Sarah Design and Architecture Incorporated in the amount of $116,000 for the City of Detroit Downtown Vision Planning and Zoning Update Project, retroactive from June 21st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024.
Great.
Good morning,
Thank you.
Kelly.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Weiss. I'm the Economic Development Program Manager, AIC, here at Marion County. And with me today, I have City of Detroit City Councilor Denny Nielsen, as well as in the audience, we have Councilor Michelle Tesdale as well. So I want to welcome them here today and thank them for their time in coming. As Chairperson Willis mentioned, we're here today to talk about the potential agreement with Sarah Design and Architecture, Inc. And this is really stemming from Marion County's commitment to the canyon in its recovery from the wildfires. So we want to make sure that the canyon communities have the tools and resources they need to come back even stronger after the devastation from 2020. So in that end, Marion County set aside funds to continue economic recovery in the region. These funds are set aside through the Economic Development Program, which is funded from Oregon Lottery dollars to support efforts that promote job creation and economic development. And then we've also applied for a grant from the U.S. Forest Service through the Opal Creek Wilderness Promise Program for reimbursement for these dollars expended as well. So almost a year ago, probably longer at this point, we had some conversations with the city of Detroit about how we could support them in moving forward from recovery from the wildfires. And we evaluated the recovery plan that was completed by Marion County in 2021 with the city and had a good, thorough discussion about next steps. And from that, the city of Detroit really made a decision that they felt their next steps were to do a downtown vision plan and then subsequent zoning code amendments. And this was really because they had already started to rebuild after the fires and were seeing a lot of that reinvestment and wanted to make sure that it met the needs of the city moving forward. And they had a good, solid vision for what their community could be into the future. So Marion County worked with them to do that. The Downtown Vision Plan will seek to perform extensive community outreach. So this is going to be evaluating the land uses in the region and making recommendations that would support a vibrant commercial corridor. So this is focused on their commercial region and less on the residential zones. And then developing a recommendation for potential public streetscape design, maybe some parking, and other things that would help create amenities for a vibrant tourism economy. Then that downtown plan, that vision plan, will be used for potential zoning code amendments to implement those visions for what the community seeks. So after we worked through that, we talked with the city of Detroit about the potential for either Marion County or the city of Detroit hiring their consultant to perform the work, and the city of Detroit determined that it made more sense for them to request Marion County to hire the consultant and then have the support of Marion County's economic development program to do that. So that's what we're here for today. We have an agreement with Sarah Design and Architecture to perform that work. This agreement details out the timeline and the deliverables for the consultant to perform the work for the City of Detroit's Downtown Vision Plan and then the zoning code amendments. The contract is set for $116,000 from Marion County Economic Development Funding, and it's proposed to be retroactive to June 21st. And the reason for that is we wanted to make sure that a lot of the public outreach could get done during the summer months when the city of Detroit was the busiest, and a lot of their second homeowners and vacation parties were in town to be able to provide public outreach. So we really want to make sure we got this project rocking and rolling. So it's proposed to be effective June 21st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024. And the board had an opportunity to provide feedback on the draft agreement at our March 14th board management update specifically, but then we've talked about it at all our work sessions in between with our economic development program. So with that, I want to thank the board for your support in this project, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Nielsen if you have any comments or thoughts on how work's going so far. Or...
Thanks, Kelly. As always, a great explanation of our efforts. And as Kelly alluded to, we've been engaged, vigorously engaged since the end of June in the community doing a variety of things. The most recent activity had to do with a design charrette that we held just prior to the Music Fest. A tremendous crowd gathered as we expected. We had over 60 people come into the booths with Sarah and their team to look at various options of design. They actually had people on site who could do some sketching, provide some instant feedback. They had all kinds of multi-voting up on the various easels that displayed the potential opportunities for our business core. Sarah has been a terrific asset in terms of helping our planning process move forward, and by 90 days from now, we should have a solution to our plan. This is sort of the easy work, led by the consultants and staffed by a lot of volunteers, such as Councilor Tesdale, myself, other city council folks, and people from the community. The hard work is going to come when the consultants go away and we're left with a plan crafted by lots of input, but our responsibility will be enormously evolved at that time in terms of effort required, both in physical effort as well as financial efforts. One of my questions for some time has been, so when we catch this dog, how do we finance its care? And there aren't any good answers to that presently because we don't have a tax base, we don't have TOTs that are anywhere close to being significant. There are many story problems yet to solve, but we have a great team on site. I'm going to take just a second, if you'll indulge me, to talk about the biggest barrier we have to meeting the potential of our business district over the long term. And it has to do with a permanent wastewater treatment system. Currently, we have some federal grants available that have to be exhausted before the end of '24. Fortunately, we can do some prospective planning and actual execution, even though we may not have a business built. If we have a business defined, we can design a high-tech temporary solution, execute on that plan, and have it paid for. However, the property sizes in Detroit for the business district as well as other areas are extremely small, as most of you know. That limits any kind of development. The only thing that's going to expand that is a permanent system. And as you may have heard me say before, my biggest fear is that a temporary solution is the most permanent in the world. We're not funded. We have $5 million from the $50 million that was allocated for Project A, which is Mill City and Gates, and we're grateful for that. It's going to do a lot in the short term. But my plea to you this morning, besides thanking you for all that you have done, not just you, but your staff has been remarkable throughout our process, is that you provide us with some guidance and help in terms of securing funding of the $62 million we need to make Detroit a viable city in the future. Our country is awash right now in resources related to COVID and recovery funds that aren't being used and that are regularly being repurposed for other uses. I just think that there's an opportunity here, and I started yesterday calling representatives personally, but I don't have a lot of clout with those folks. But if you all could help us, guide us, to work with our state and federal representatives to try and find solutions to source this $62 million. You know, I don't know what that'll look 5 years from now, but if you use current rates today of inflation, it's probably going to be $80 million. So it just seems to me that 62 is a better number to deal with if we can find a source now and be ready to execute on the plan that we'll have because of the $5 million we've had allocated for our temporary services, property options in the Idana area and so on. So I think we have a marvelous team. Everybody's dedicated, passionate. We'll do whatever it takes. Our head down, our fanny up, and we're digging all the time. We just need your assistance again, and probably again and again until this thing reaches its potential some years into the future. And thank you so much. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Denny. Questions?
Well, just maybe some comments, Denny, and I want to thank you and Michelle for your service, council, and I'll just get this out of the way because we're gonna move on this. I want to declare a potential conflict of interest on this because I am on the Planning Commission in Detroit, and I am a resident of Detroit, which that population is no big deal, but the Planning Commission will probably be dealing with some of this. So just get that out of the way. But I want you to know that it is really important to me as a resident of Detroit, the service that you both provide, and I know you're both residents up there as well. The work that we are concurrently doing, and I think you know this about the sewer system, is the design is happening as we are designing Mill City. The same time we're getting there. You're right, and the funding's not there. And I want to say this, that it's never stopped. We have never stopped advocating for that funding. In fact, I don't know, I probably heard it, you know, every day from Jan, right? Hey, what are we going to do to get that funding in Detroit? And it's going to be an uphill battle. I mean, it is, and nothing like that comes easy. And you're right, we had this fire recovery, we had ARPA, we had all that money, that 50 million that flowed, and I think we set aside 10 million for Detroit. We set aside 5 for the design and 5 for the grant program that's happening up there. I want to compliment our Public Works Department and Brian Nicholas and Kim, or not Kim, but who's the
Chris
Chris
Einma.
Einmo, but Kim Aldridge.
Kim, I was
too.
gonna say
Yeah,
Kim's also
Kim,
very-
yeah,
Yes,
Kim.
Kim.
Yeah, so the work that they're doing, and you're right, it is a team. And one of the things I've always said since I became a county commissioner, Marion County has the most incorporated cities of any county in the state, out of 36 counties. We have 20 incorporated cities. And if you take Salem, Kaiser, Woodburn, maybe even the suburb of Sublimity, Staten,
Nice.
out of the mix, you think about the other 15 or 14 cities and how small they are, populations of 400 people. And we know that we have to help, and that's what our economic development department has done so well over the years. And we are not going to let this tiger, we're not going to let this tiger go. As long as I'm here, we'll keep doing it. And I always say this, will I be alive when the first toilet flush is in Detroit? I don't know. It takes a long time, Denny, as you well know, to get any of these infrastructure projects done. Commissioner Bethel, bless her, she put forth this resolution that we're taking. I took it down to NACO to extend the deadline for ARPA dollars. Right now it has to be spent by 2026, is that right, Jan? And when you're doing a sewer or water project, you can't get all that money spent and can't get it done. So, I mean, we're working as we talk here right now. We have been continuing to do that, and I know our federal delegation. We have good relationships with both our senators and our Congress people, and they're going to do everything they can to help too. They understand the need up there in Idana and Detroit. Both those cities need this system, and we need to protect the water supply for the people that rely on that, as we all know from 5-6 years ago when we had that algae outbreak. So I just want to say thank you to both of you for your service, and to this team that I'm blessed to work with every day, and the department heads and all the staff that we get to work with. We hear you, we know, and we'll continue to do everything we can to try to grab those dollars. And it's going to take, I tell people this all the time, my water bill, what did it go up to? And I haven't seen it.
82.
$82 just for water in Detroit. I remember I increased my check to 80, so I better get back there and do my automatic check to more. So $82 just for water, no sewer, no storm water. And I don't know, here in Salem, I know I pay a water bill on a house that I rent, and it is a lot less than that. So it's going to be a heavy lift for Detroit to be able to pay for a sewer system and a water bill. Because even if we got all the money to install the infrastructure, you're still going to have a fund to replace things and to repair and to pay for the service. So, you're talking it's going to be $150 a month or so just for sewer and water, probably up there, which a lot of people are going to have a hard time with. But I'm excited. I love that you're here. I love that you're serving and that Michelle's serving on the city council. I think I've been a part of Detroit for a long time, and I've never seen it function the way it's functioned now with the leadership up there. So thank you. And I know you got another big issue that I don't want to talk about.
Commissioner Bethel?
Oh, yeah, I do, actually. First, I want to just say I'm a little surprised that there would be any feeling or belief that we're not fully involved and invested in the Detroit sewer project. Literally since the first day I was sworn into office, it's been a conversation weekly. And I would say that while I don't go up there to the canyon and come to city council meetings and do all that stuff regularly, the North Santiam Sewer Authority is the local authority, along with the city council, that's in my mind, based on the feedback I've received from the citizens, kind of leading this, right? That's the legal jurisdictions. And we, at least I believe this board has fully embraced every ask that's ever been sent our way. And so I would say, I'll still be here. I'll continue to advocate. But maybe we need to figure out a way to align partnerships. I meet with Senator Wyden's office at least quarterly to talk about housing. Wildfire recovery is something I've worked on since I first day. And the sewer project was something that obviously was involved way before me. I mean, a decade before I was even considering being a commissioner. And it just takes so long. And I had heard last week that you were coming from a local person that kind of gave me a different perspective as to what you might be asking for. So we're here. I'm here. Colin and Kevin, we're for sure 100% involved in this. And if there's something that you think we're not getting, if it's from the staff or from the NSSA or whatever, I know you have my cell phone number because we had a great meeting upstairs in my office about housing, and I would hope that you would use it. So yes, $62 million is a lot now, and it'll be a lot in 5 or 10 years. But maybe, I feel like maybe we've missed the opportunity of communication to help create the timeline to get to where we even are with the Mill City Gates expansion, right? I mean, Marion County doesn't have $50 or $60 million to give. If we did, we would have done it. And I think that we could do a better job of just communicating but what we are doing and what we need your help on. Because I don't want to just be the Board of Commissioners championing a local ask. I do think it's really helpful for Senator Wyden and Merkley. They're going to be here, my understanding, sometime in the next 30 days. We should invite you. You should come down. They kind of do a co-town hall type effort. Yep. Commissioner Cameron usually moderates it. And let's make sure they see you and hear from you. Because I do believe that that's where we're going to get this money. We did get money from the state legislature, but they got that money from the feds, right? So it's just kind of this pass-through process. And we go out in February. You should join us to knock down their door maybe for the dollars. So I'm grateful that you're participating in all of it, and that I know you're at the table with Kelly and her team and all of that. So I really think we are trying. I do have a couple questions for Kelly on this contract, though.
I just want to make one more comment. Denny, you are a great advocate. You are, because I was in that meeting with the governor, and at the end of that meeting, she says, "Hey, how can we help?" And you said $62 million. You said it right to her, okay? And that's all we need to keep doing together. And it was better coming from you than it was from me, but she knows it, they know it. So, yep. I mean, there's a lot of people that are aware of it, and we've got this short session coming up next February. We got the long session. We're working on our agenda for the feds. We will stay at this, and I really appreciate your advocacy. And I thought you were the right person in the room that day when she says, "Well, how can we help you?" And the last thing you said was $62 million. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
All right. Good job.
And thank you, but I have to say, I didn't mean to suggest that I doubted your engagement, your enthusiastic support of everything we've done, because we see it day to day through your staff. Mostly we don't get the opportunity to see. I see Commissioner Cameron once in a while. We're absolutely blessed to have the team we have beginning in this room with the rest of the folks in and around Detroit. So I'm just fearful about our future. I'm fearful that we won't be able to reach our potential if we don't have a permanent system. And so you're going to hear me say that if you're around me frequently, because I'm going to beat that drum until that first toilet flushes.
Well, we'll just keep inviting you into the places to keep saying that. And I do have a suggestion for the city council that maybe you could take back to them. And it's, aside from the fact that we don't have the schedule to be able to come to your council meetings or the conversations you're having within your community about your progress, nor does the governor. and or your legislative delegates. And so it might be worth quarterly just sending, the squeaky wheel kind of gets the oil type of a thing, and just be providing them progress reports as to, and I believe that our economic development team could help draft something as a model that you could just kind of fill in the blanks every quarter. And we can also show you where to send that. There is a new regional solutions team that the governor brought on when she took her seat. They are definitely taking a different approach, but they are worth annoying regularly, so that way when they're reporting into the governor as to what projects are going on around the economic development concept, because we as taxpayers pay for their existence, they have those updates, and they are top of mind constantly because they're coming from the locals straight up to them. And I'll sign any letter or walk with you to any meeting to make sure that they understand that we're invested in this.
We'd be happy to provide updates. And by the way, I'm on the North Santiam Sewer Authority Board as well.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty plugged into what's going on, and the
Yeah.
funding that you all have provided us, the $150,000 for administrative support.
Yeah.
Which we're actually having conversations, I think, about later today. So everybody will do what everybody can do. I think it's just leadership's responsibility to keep pushing that button to go forward. And that's our responsibility, and we'll live with that. Thank you.
One thing, Dave, I wanted to add too is, and I'm sure you know this, is there's a regulatory element to this as well. So we were working on the Mill City Gates portion of the sewer project since before I became a commissioner, and there's a whole bunch of regulatory hoops we had to jump through in addition to the funding. So unfortunately, we're kind of in the same place with Detroit, where we basically still need permission for some place to dispose the effluent when we're finished with it, right? And so that's a piece of
Brewery.
it's not separate. Like when we're asking folks for money, they're aware of this regulatory piece, and so when you're pushing our federal delegates, it's also important to push on U.S. Forest Service and Army Corps, because they're just an important part of that. So anyway, that's part of why it's taking so long. And then the other thing is, and I know you know this, when we did this contract process, I was really insistent that the local communities lead it, not Marion County. So I'm glad that Marion County is supporting you and you're happy with us. And I have a lot of confidence in our team. But if at any moment, for whatever reason, even if it's a mistake, the city of Detroit feels like for something that is not reflective of your values and your community and the direction you want to go, please let us know, because everybody here is intending for this to be a Detroit-led thing, even if we're paying for it. So I just want to make sure that that's
You
reiterated.
can depend on that. As you probably realize, I'm not bashful.
I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, so Kelly, I have a couple questions on this contract, just for clarification for myself. Page 1 of the standard professional services contract talks about a plan, and I'm curious if that plan is the framework that the board, I don't know who did it, who performed the work for that. It was originally called a plan, and we had shifted it to be considered a framework because we do not want the local community to feel that Marion County is giving direction at the local level. Is that what it's referring to?
Yeah. So the downtown planning work was a project that was recommended out of the strategic recovery plan. I cannot remember its exact title. That was done by Better City in 2021. It was commissioned by Marion County.
Okay. So that it's not the framework then? That, you know what I'm talking about? Chris is shaking his head, yes, no, back there.
It's within the framework.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're very clear with Sarah on their job, which is to make sure everything that they provide going forward as a permanent document is coming from the locals, and that any promise or any hope for funding is driven from the local initiative with obviously support and interest from the county, but this is not a county thing.
Yeah, the scope of work and our RFP very much reference Marion County on behalf of the city of Detroit And the scope of work includes review and approval of everything through the city of Detroit. So all the documents, all of the deliverables will be through the city of Detroit. And our project management team is here. That's our 2 representatives from the council. And then we are having regular work sessions with the city council as well. And we'll likely pull in the planning commission when we get to the zoning codes, so.
Okay, good. So for the counselors in the room, I really love that Marion County has the opportunity to support these efforts, regardless of the impact of the fire. I think we would have done this anyway if a community had come to us and said, hey, we need support to be able to just grow. But I don't want the perception to be out there at any point ever that the county is trying to reach into an authorized incorporated body to do this work. So we've talked about this a lot. I want to make sure that that is very, very clear. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take a motion.
I'm sorry?
I said I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the architecture and engineering standard professional services contract with Sarah Design and Architecture Incorporated in the amount of $116,000 for the City of Detroit Downtown Vision Plan and Zoning Code Update Project, retroactive from June 21, 2023 through March 31, 2024.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just, Mr. Chair, again, I just want to declare a potential conflict of interest as I do serve on the Detroit Planning Commission, and I am a resident of Detroit.
Noted. Any further discussion?
Just thanks for coming today. It's great to see you both here, and maybe we can get you to more meetings in the future as we're planning these things.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Scott.
thanks for being here. Okay, Katrina, not Ryan. We're going to consider approval of the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Human Services, the amount of $31,827,545 for the kind of oversee and provide services for individuals with developmental disabilities, retroactive from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Katrina Griffith, Deputy Health and Human Services Director, and I'm here with Karen.
Hi, my name is Karen Perkins. I'm an interim program manager for Intellectual and Developmental Disability Services.
And we are here seeking approval for the intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Department of Human Services to oversee and provide services for individuals with developmental disabilities. The contract total for the 2023-2025 biennium is $31,827,545. This is a $4.5 million increase from the previous biennium. It is $1.4 million over what we budgeted for the fiscal year 23-24, and so that amount will be reflected in the first supplemental budget. There will be no added positions in the first supplemental budget, but I just wanted to mention our staffing model for fiscal year 2022-23. We ended with 96.65 FTE and then started the 23-24 fiscal year with 98.7 FTE. This contract total is based on the state's workload model, which is a formula that includes a point-in-time random survey, enrollment forecast, staffing, and cost assumptions. And ODHS makes these assumptions about staffing levels and bases our funding off of that, even though it's not necessarily reflective of our Marion County costs. And so we staff accordingly, even though the state suggests a different staffing model. And then this funding does not fluctuate based on the number of people that we serve. And so we receive this amount of funding no matter what our staffing model looks like or the number of people that we serve. So now I'll turn it over to Karen to talk a little bit more about the services that we provide through the Community Developmental Disability Program.
Thank you. So under this contract with the Oregon Department of Human Services, Marion County agrees to act as the local Community Developmental Disability Program, or CDDP. As the CDDP, we are responsible to provide many services, and I'll highlight just a few of those services this morning. Our eligibility department is the access point for all intellectual and developmental disability services in Marion County. Currently, there are approximately 3,300 individuals who have been found eligible for IDD services in Marion County. We continue to see the need for IDD services increase in our community and across the state. Over the course of the 21-23 biennium, our total program enrollment grew by 9.5%. The most significant increase was with children at ages birth to 14 and with individuals in the transition age range, 14 to 21. Based on spring enrollment numbers provided by ODHS, Marion County's increase in enrollment is consistent with the increase in enrollment seen across Oregon. Once an individual is found eligible, they're enrolled with case management services, either with our program or with one of our local brokerages. So our program also offers case management services. When Marion County's case management team is fully staffed, we employ 49 service coordinators who provide lifespan case management services to children and adults and support access to IDD services in all home and community-based settings. Today, we have approximately 2,800 individuals enrolled in case management services with our Marion County IDD program. We are also responsible to conduct adult abuse screening, investigations, and protective services for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and also for individuals receiving adult behavioral health services in Marion County. This team responds to abuse allegations, coordinates with case management to support an individual's access to protective services, and assures that abuse investigation or allegations are appropriately investigated and reported. Finally, our program also assists ODDS in licensing adult and child foster homes within Marion County. Currently, there are 111 adult foster homes and 30 children's foster homes operating within Marion County. Depending on the size of the home and the number of providers, these homes can support anywhere from 1 to 5 people when at full capacity. So this is just a highlight of some of our services that Marion County IDD program provides within our community. As Katrina mentioned earlier, our actual program budget includes approximately 99 full-time employees to support our IDD program operations across our community.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. That's
Are there any
all.
questions for
Mr.
Karen?
Chair, Karen, you said 30 children foster homes. Are those for IDD?
Yes, specifically certified under our IDD program rules.
So a total of 141 homes in
Yes.
Marion County.
Yes.
Of the approximately 3,300, how many, do we know approximately how many of them are residents of our homes?
We have additional types of homes, so it's hard to
So,
answer that.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah. Are we short case managers right now in this program?
We have some open positions right now, yes.
Okay. And so I realize that you're not increasing FTE with these funds, and I know Ryan came and talked to us last week, I think, about it. I think I'd like a little more information. This comes about because on Friday I was in the community and I had a mom approach me who is a client, and she had some pretty valid concerns, and I actually said, you need to call Katrina and talk to her. But I am curious overall with these additional dollars, kind of the details as to what's going to happen if we're not going to increase the FTE to be able to provide the direct services to the clients. And also, do you know, since it's not an equation as far as case manager ratio and or client ratio, why the state decided to increase the funding here? Was it called out?
Well, actually, a lot of counties are seeing a decrease in their funding.
I heard that.
But for some reason, the workload model works in our favor for Marion County.
Okay.
It's based off of the salaries they expect us to provide.
Okay.
They have their own salary figure, they have their own staffing type, even though none of these positions really exist at ODHS.
Sure.
And so they do provide it, I believe it's in the contract. But we can talk a little bit more about that. I think with the increasing FTE, we would like to be able to retain and keep the staff that we currently have.
Yes.
And so I think if we were fully staffed, caseloads would be at a very manageable level.
Okay.
We're also experiencing some staffing shortage on the adult abuse investigation team as well. And so we're trying to think about creative ways to staff that more appropriately by hiring temps. And so temps for the case management side and temps for the adult abuse investigation side, so that when we do have openings that we can hopefully get those folks into the full-time positions, or at least have some additional capacity in the temporary employee pool. They can't perform the full scope of services that a full-time employee can have, but these are some of the things that we're exploring right now.
Okay. Do you guys work with Northwest Senior and Disability Services at all? On any of your, anything? In that realm, they have adult investigation for people with disabilities, and this population falls within their umbrella. I mean, I'm just curious if there's a coordination. I'll follow up with you. I'll have Matt reach out and schedule a meeting for the three of us to sit down and talk further. I am grateful for the dollars. I guess I just want to say on the record, I'm a little reluctant because the state screwed up another model, metric model, and we had to return some funding that other counties didn't get. And so I'm a little apprehensive to be able to praise the extra dollars when somebody may have just made another math error at the state level and we have to return, return the money. So that's why I ask. Thanks.
Sure, can we have any questions?
No. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve an incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Human Services in the amount of $31,827,545 for the county to oversee and provide services for individuals with developmental disabilities, retroactive from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Carrie.
Alicia, you're up. We're going to consider approval of the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Youth Authority, amount of $1,915,778 for juvenile crime prevention, basic and diversion services retroactive from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Alicia Kozad, Deputy Director, Marion County Juvenile Department. Yes, we're looking for approval today. Marion County Juvenile Department receives a biennium allocation of funds from the Oregon Youth Authority. These monies go to partially fund our guaranteed attendance program, which provides diversion services for detention and it's our shelter program, so it also provides 90-day kind of respite program for kids who need some stabilization away from home. So right now that provides 43% of our staffing for that program, so we're very thankful. That covers us for 2 years. We have a slight decrease this year. All 36 counties took a decrease in that funding from the Oregon Youth Authority's budget this year. And so as mentioned, they're looking to make this retroactive to July 1st. And as mentioned, the amount is $1,915,778.
Any questions for Alicia?
Nope, I love the GAP program. Did the building get painted?
It did.
All right. Nobody
I was
called
waiting
me
for the question. I was waiting for the
said,
question.
Commissioner, it's done. So I'm a
There's
staff
some-
person who was very diligent about that, but I don't
Yes,
think
and
he
there's some
recognized.
skepticism on the on the color, but you know,
It was not part of the conversation I was interested in having. It's just painted.
it is,
So,
and it looks very clean and tidy. It looks very nice.
I love it.
So we appreciate the push and drive on that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, and the barbecue was great this year back in the shade.
It
too.
was
That
wonderful.
nice.
Yes,
Good job.
a lot of fun.
That's excellent. Okay, Commissioner Bethel, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Youth Authority in the amount of $1,915,778 for juvenile crime prevention basic and diversion services retroactive from July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
All right, Commander Larson, you're up. And we're going to consider approval of amendment number 3 to the purchase order with Correct RX Pharmacy Services Incorporated at $177,000 for new contract total of $815,996.83 to provide pharmaceutical services at the Marion County Jail through June 30th, 2024. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Tad Larson, Jail Commander at the Sheriff's Office. First, I'd like to think we are fortunate that our contracts positions are filled. So Christy worked this one up, so I just wanted to acknowledge her work on they're trained and soloed, and we're getting contracts moving through, so we'll probably see some more contract work here. As you know, at the Marion County Jail, we've got many providers and prescribers, and so this pharmacy contract supports that. We need an extension to maintain those prescription services through the end of this fiscal year. So we have, on average, between 130 and 150 adults in custody on medications, and about half of those are on, a little more than half are on psychotropic medications.
Wow.
We're averaging about $17,000 a month on the pharmaceutical bill, and that the variations occur depending on if somebody's on HIV medications. Those are rather expensive, so if even one patient bumps that bill up on a monthly basis.
Commander Larson, we just approved a contract with the Health Department. I think HIV Alliance is sort of a part of that contract.
Yes.
And because it's a direct contract, it's not a Medicaid contract, can any of those funds be used to support folks with HIV in our jail?
I'd have to check, but I'm willing to have those conversations with
I
juvenile
think
if
that'd
that
be
works,
worth
or
looking
health
into.
if that works, yeah.
Yeah, because I know Medicaid doesn't work in the jail, but because our public health contract is not Medicaid, it's a direct contract with OHA.
Yeah, so we continue services like the flu shot during flu season and their methadone program. Some of those services that they have on the public health side do continue in custody regardless of
Because
funding.
they're state funding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think we should see if the HIV
Sure.
stuff can support that population.
I actually think this is a great suggestion. So there's a, I want to call it a conference, but I think it's a forum that's being hosted coming up from our Burn Network. So we received a bunch of money, Measure 110. We created the Burn Network, which is HIV Alliance, Bridgeway, Ideal Options, Iron Tribe, Marion County. I think there's a sixth that I'm not recalling. I'm actually kind of dragging that a little further. I'm wondering if Commander Larson could accompany me to a meeting with that team to see about bringing their services in. They're all funded through different sources, and since we can't bill for insurance, if you will, this is very costly to taxpayers, and these organizations are already being paid by taxpayer dollars to provide these services and benefits, and it's a lot of the similar clients.
Sure.
And so if it's something that you're open to, maybe I shouldn't have asked you on the record in case you're not. It occurred to me to be that possible. I know it's, a little awkward to bring people into the jail, but I think these are providers. It's like we have the lead team, and I know that Josh Lair with Ideal Options has a relationship, and they come in and work with clients when they're in the jail. I just think it's one more step forward to see if we can be more efficient with government dollars.
Well, that was my question. We already do, because I know we made a change on that. We already do provide some sort of substance abuse services in the jail, right?
Yes, we have a medication-assisted treatment program going in the jail. We were one of 2 jails awarded, Ideal Options was awarded a grant with the 110 money, and we were one of 2 jails selected for them to participate.
So that is what we call burn money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
so that's already there. What are the additional
Well, the
services?
$17,000 he's talking about for the psychotropic medications, these providers have relationships to maintain continuity of care. And I'm just wondering, they're probably being severed when they come in the jail because their provider's not coming into the jail to provide that
Okay.
prescription and those medications. And I don't know what it could look like, but if we can somehow close this gap and make sure that the continuity of care is consistent no matter where the client is, one, it will save taxpayer dollars from the county side that are already being housed somewhere within
Yeah.
the provider space, and we just need to bring them together and see if we can.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a look, and combined, I think we can figure out whether it's legal and ethical to perform those in the jail. It'll be pretty quick to figure it out once we
Okay,
meet.
Matt will reach out to you, and we'll bring Ryan and some other providers to the table and see what we can
Good.
develop.
And the STD stuff will also be a part of it.
HIV Alliance is a part of the burn. I think that whole team would want to come
Yeah.
to this
Okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Sometimes some of those programs, it's just a matter of delivering the meds. It's not always even the administration of the meds. So it just depends on what it is. And
Yeah.
I agree. That's
Yeah.
anytime we can not double down on taxpayer dollars, that works.
Yeah.
The other benefit of an organization like this in particular is, for like most of us, if you go to the doctor and then you go get your prescription filled at the pharmacy, if there's a generic version of that medication, that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
And so I like that this pharmacy does this, so we don't have to wait for a contract renewal. The moment that a medication goes generic, they put it on our formulary list, so they're doing everything they can to
That's
save us
nice.
money in that regard. It's just patient-driven in my building in particular.
Yeah.
Do
Great.
any of you know if this is the same pharmacy that we have that does our MAT program in the health department?
This one is not.
It's not.
No.
Okay.
This is one of 3 or 4 larger pharmaceutical companies that specialize in jails and prisons because of the way some of the meds have to be packaged.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve amendment number 3 of the purchase order with Correct RX Pharmacy Services, Inc. to add $177,000 for a new contract total of $815,996.83 to provide pharmaceutical services to the Marion County Jail through June 30th, 2024.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passes.
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Commander. Okay, Dennis, you're up, and we're going to consider approval of the purchase order with Robertson Motors Incorporated in the amount of $296,975.61 for the purchase of 6 2024 Dodge Durangos and 1 2024 Ram 1500 SSV pickup as part of the fiscal year 23-24 annual light-duty vehicle replacement program through June 30th, 2024. I got it.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. For the record, Dennis Mansfield, Deputy Public Works Director. As you noted, I am here before you to request approval for a purchase order to Robertson Motors Incorporated in the amount of $296,975.61 to purchase 7 Dodge vehicles, 6 Patrol Durangos, and 1 truck, utilizing the Oregon State Pricing Agreement. It is part of our annual light-duty fleet replacement program. It consists of over 280 vehicles throughout the county for nearly every one of our departments. Each department pays a monthly lease rate to the Consolidated Fleet Fund for each vehicle they use, which pays for the maintenance, outfitting, administration, and replacement of the vehicle. To determine which vehicles we're replacing each year, we use a scoring method that looks at several categories, including the age, mileage, maintenance costs, and reliability of the vehicle. This method was based on a study completed in 2009 by a company called Mercury, and it's appropriately named the Mercury Study. As noted, we continue to use that method today. We look at this data twice a year. We start in December to provide a baseline of what to budget for in replacement for the following fiscal year. Then again in June, we refresh that data to ensure we are replacing the right vehicles in the following fiscal year with the most updated data available. I kind of want to provide a quick update on the automotive industry. Since COVID, the industry has been turned upside down with a lack of supply of a computer chip that nearly all new vehicles use. This year is the first year since then that we're starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. However, we're not completely out of the woods. The demand remains high, and while most ordering banks this year are kind of back to the normal late summer or fall time, they are closing sooner than pre-COVID. And we're not given a lot of time from when the vendor can get us quotes to when the ordering bank opens. So it's a bit of a mad scramble once the information gets to us to ensure we have the right builds for our customers, quotes from the vendor, and then get the information to you as the approving authority to make these purchases. We're also still having a difficult time with Chevrolet. They are the only American-made vehicle now that makes sedans. And the last 2 years, they had their ordering bank in May, which is not a typical time. They've given us no notice either year, and the ordering bank is closed within like a couple business days. We'll be coming to you with some recommendations related to sedans here in the near future. With that, it is staff's recommendation to approve the purchase order with Robertson Motors Incorporated to purchase the 7 vehicles in the amount of $296,975.61. I'm open to any questions you might have.
Any questions for Dennis?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Chair, yeah, who's getting the no spot light destroyer gray Durango? What's that for?
I'm assuming that is going to be for the sheriff's office. Yeah, they're the only ones using the Durangos.
Destroyer gray.
Yeah, I'm not sure why
Is that
they're
like-
getting a different color.
Is that like Brian's suit that he's got on up there? Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
All right, I move to approve the purchase order with Roberson Motors, Inc. in the amount of $296,975.61 for the purchase of 6 2024 Dodge Durangos and 1 2024 Ram 1500 SSV pickup as part of the fiscal year 23-24 annual light-duty vehicle replacement program through June 30th, 2024.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, now, let's see. I'm going to open, is it time?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're past it.
I'm
Good
going
job,
to
though.
open the public hearing to consider changes to the Marion County Solid Waste Rates Schedule as referenced in Exhibit A for the disposal sites within the county. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pardon me while I pull this up and get started. All right, for the record, Brian May, Public Works Environmental Services Division Manager, and with me.
And Dennis Mansfield, Deputy Public Works Director.
So today we're going to discuss some proposed disposal rate increases. So I want to start out really clear at the very beginning. These rates will not impact Marion County residents or businesses' curbside collection programs. I just want to kind of get that out there for everybody. That is handled through an annual process called our cost of service analysis, which that'll be something we'll be bringing forward a year later this fall as we discuss rates for curbside collection. So today we're focused purely on those disposal rates. So those related to Browns Island, our construction and demolition landfill, our compost operation, our 2 transfer stations, Cavanta, our waste energy facility, and then the Marion Resource Recovery Facility. So on an annual basis, we also look at these rates and we look at the health of our solid waste area, our integrated solid waste system. We want to make sure that we're understanding the flows of our materials and making sure that we know the financial impacts of what's happening and to make sure that we have funding to take care of our operational costs and the health of the system. That's of our foremost. So back in May, we had a work session with the board and discussed a number of topics that were influencing our solid waste system. Largely that was our operations agreements with Cavanta, Republic Services, and Marion Resource Recovery Facility. And then additionally, we talked about inflation and kind of that margin erosion of what's been happening to us over the years. All these funds have been negatively impacted, and we're just really watching it with kind of that heightened awareness as we go forward. During the work session, we identified some kind of key areas that we saw that we needed to make some adjustments, either making sure we covered the operational costs associated with it, or if we were way below market value. All of our disposal rates have not been adjusted since October of 2016. So again, over 7 years has now passed since then. These are all listed here in Exhibit A. So I'll just kind of start at the top and kind of run through these real quick for you. Starting with Browns Island construction and demolition. And again, I'll apologize a little bit for the nomenclature. It says demo fill. And again, nobody really knows what the heck demo fill means. This is what the rate codes that come up for our scale tenants. So when somebody comes in or disposed, this is that main disposal rate. So that's what that reference is. Our C&D landfill, our construction and demolition landfill at Browns Island, was set up originally to make sure that material that we did not want to go into the incinerator went somewhere else and was disposed of properly. That was either negative impacts for operations, like trying to burn concrete through an incinerator just doesn't work, or drywall, or what we call sheetrock. You end up with emissions issues. So it's, again, trying to make sure that we move material to the appropriate location. And at the same time, we incentivize that with this reduced rate. So currently that rate today is $13 a yard. That equates to about $26 a ton. That's way below our $107.45 per ton that's charged at our transfer stations to handle the same material. So again, we're kind of off basis there. As part of that, we know that our Browns Island C&D landfill is kind of becoming to the end of its permitted life with DEQ. We have about 3 to 5 years worth of life. So the intent with the rate adjustments is to bring them closer to our transfer station rate of 107.45, but over a period of time. We don't want to do this all at once and shock everybody and our consumers. We want to kind of gradually increase, and that's what we're proposing is an increase of $7 per yard effective October 1st of this year, and then July 1 for 24, 25, and 26, a $10 per yard increase. What that does is by July 1 of 2026, it gets us to about $100 per ton kind of equivalent. So we're getting closer to that rate that somebody will shift when they pay to go to another disposal location. As part of that, we're also looking at that sheetrock franchise rate. And again, another incentive again to keep material from going into the burner and burning material that could cause emissions issues. So we're bringing those in line with that demo fill rate and just matching them up so it's a consistent across the board. Our intent is when we reach capacity at the demo fill site that this material will go most likely to the Marion Resource Recovery Facility, our C&D process center, and recover that material as best we can. Because again, there's uses for concrete, there's uses for drywall, and hopefully even we'll have a market for the kind of composite roofing material that we take a lot out of Browns Island. Going down to the compost operation, these are actually brand new rates that are being proposed. We have not had these in place. So when we talk about the yard debris public, this would allow our public to come in as an inbound rate so the public can bring material to us. We've had our transfer stations just get overwhelmed over the last 7 years with just volume growth and increase. So we're always looking for a way to help provide another option, and that's what this is doing, is by establishing a rate so that if you're out in that kind of portion of county out by Browns Island, you can actually take your material there. Now it'll by the yard because we don't have scales, but it's an equivalent rate to our rates at the transfer stations, which is $59.49 per ton. But again, the minimum is $15. That'll be the same minimum for bringing in 2 yards of material to start with. As we get into the bulk rate, this is an outbound rate. So as our volumes have increased, yard debris has been coming in, everybody's doing a great job recovering that. We are having more consistent batches in the sense of what's coming through. We sold compost primarily as a surplus deal where we'd put out a request for proposals, somebody would bid, and then we'd move material kind of at their will. It didn't always match in time, and we're running out of space at times that we need that space. It becomes pretty critical for the next batch going through. So the intent of this is to put a rate out there for those that want to buy 10 yards or more, again, a bulk rate. So we're not competing with the small hard yards and others out in the community. This is more of a larger consumer buying process. So we'd want to put that in place also October 1st. Shifting to our transfer stations, specifically to 2 disposal mandates is what they're called by DEQ, where you're not allowed to dispose of appliances or tires. So in that requires us to do some additional handling, additional processing, or transporting to a specific entity. And when we talk about appliances, here today we're talking about Freon containing appliances. We accepted over 3,700 Freon containing appliances in 2022. That just means we had a lot to deal with, and then where do you go with it? First step in that process of recycling is to remove the Freon. That's mandated, and that charge has typically been $20 per unit. That recently reached an increase in our last couple of years to $25. So that's what that rate that we're looking to do. Similar with our tires, we processed over 14,500 tires in 2022. Knowing that our transfer stations are not the only location people can take tires, but they choose us quite a bit. And we're real conscious about both Freon containing appliances and tires, as these are things that frequently make it in our ditches and our roadsides, and we want to be real cautious about doing rate increases. So we're just literally trying to cover our costs associated that have increased over the last 7 years in adjusting these rates. And then last but not least, talking about Cavanna, the waste energy facility, is the in-county medical waste. Again, trying to provide a service for Marion County businesses and residents. Cabana accepts about 600 tons per year for us, the facility to process medical waste appropriately. This is all collected by Marion Environmental. We have provided a below market rate for a lot of years. The last increase again was in October of 2016. We raised the rate from $67.45 a ton to $87.45 a ton. Medical waste collectors outside of Marion County are paying in excess of $600 a ton to have the same material processed. Similar to Browns Island, what we're proposing from the staff level is an increase over a 3-year period of time, with that first adjustment going up to $150 per ton on January 1, and then two $75 per ton increases in 25 and 26 to $225 and then $300 per ton. Again, still way below that market rate of over $600, so literally half. So this kind of sums up what we're proposing for the charges that we've discussed back in May in our work session. And again, want to state real clear that these are not rates that will impact the residential customers or businesses curbside programs. Again, we'll be dealing with that later in the year, but this is just a direct disposal. So from staff's view and analysis, Public Works staff recommends to the Board of Commissioners approval of the proposed solid waste rate changes provided in Exhibit A. Any questions?
Any questions for Brian? Please. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Brian and I already tried to deliver some yard waste at Browns Island, and he said he wouldn't take it. What's the date?
We would do it October 1st when we put that rate in place.
Okay. And then will there be some marketing promotion, or are you just going to do a soft opening, or what's the plan there?
Definitely. Our intent's not just to talk about Marion County options of the transfer stations in Browns Island, but to also a number of those different landscape yards that also accept material. So we will do our media outlets. We'll also do Facebook and others to make sure we spread that word to let people know there's other options out there.
Yeah, and one more, Mr. Chair, if I may. So maybe this is for Dennis. Why January 1 on the medical waste versus July 1? What was our...
It's primarily meant for the COSTA process for the medical waste group, so the Marion Environmental, so they just have a full year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's how they run theirs. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Butler?
Yeah, Brian, is there, with the newly incoming yard waste, going to be an increase in compost material for private companies to be able to purchase?
So we don't really think there will be, largely because this material would probably be destined more for our transfer stations, and we're already getting that material. So I think we're just going to see potentially a shift based on convenience for the customer versus an actual increase. I think we'll have a normal kind of aggregate increase just with population growth, but we shouldn't see a significant increase in our compost generation.
Okay,
That's a good question.
thanks.
But no, it makes sense. It makes sense what you just said, but didn't we won a lawsuit, if I remember right? Or,
Correct.
Well, we were going to sue them, but, so has all our transfer station material been going to Browns Island now?
Yes.
Since
Yes, it
that
has.
lawsuit?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Yeah, and then, well, the 10 yards, that's a bit, I mean, you gotta have a dump truck for 10 yards.
Correct, and
Okay.
that's
So it's
kinda-
not like I take my pickup in there and I drop my stuff off, I can get maybe 2 yards in my pickup. They're not gonna sell it to me, so it's still gonna be for the bigger
For the
people.
Bigger,
Yeah.
yep.
We've had some, I don't know if they're complaints, but some grouchy
He knows.
input.
Yes.
about it.
And
I
we're-
forwarded them to him.
We're hoping that this will streamline that process and make it more
Yeah,
available.
it's for more customers than just one, is what I would
Correct, and
say.
this will help that also.
Right, okay. Good, all right, if you're ready.
Well, the only thing that I would say, I want to kind of echo is that even though we're calling this a rate increase, really we're providing services to people, and we're saying, hey, we got to make sure that what we're charging people for the services we're providing makes sense, right? So this is a weird one where sometimes we act as a government, but in this case, we're almost acting as a business, where we're providing certain services and we're having prices for folks for the services we provide. And I would say all of these are very reasonable prices, but like everybody else, we're having to deal with the effects of inflation, and we got to keep up with that. So I think it's good to clarify what we're doing and not doing here. This is
Right.
not a garbage rate increase the way that most people think of it. We're talking about what prices should we charge for the services that we provide to people, so.
And also making the market fair. There's a lot of private companies that provide service, disposal and or recycling or whatever it might be for a variety of the things that are on these lists. And one of the things that I was concerned about when we were looking at our rates before is it was more enticing to somebody to come to the government instead of to a local business, and that harms business. I'm not trying to take money out of citizens' pockets, but I'm definitely not trying to harm businesses that provide jobs to families in our community, and I think that this makes sense.
Well, and you certainly I don't want taxpayers to be subsidizing a certain business that
Right.
we do, right?
Right.
Like if there's a certain service and it costs a certain amount of money in the market,
Yeah.
unless there's a good reason for us to be using taxpayer dollars to subsidize a service so that then normally I would say, well, I wouldn't want to do that because that's distorting the market, and it's hiding the true cost of something, and it creates all sorts of negative impacts to the community, so.
Yeah, I think in looking at these, and you guys are having a great conversation here, the only one that's on here that you can't go someplace else is probably the medical waste, because it has to be
Right.
incinerated, and there's no other place, unless you want to ship it and pay a whole bunch of money somewhere else.
Yep.
But the rest of these, you do have options to
Yeah.
go wherever you want to go in the market, so that's good. I don't see
Okay.
anybody sign up, Mr. Chair.
No, there's no one signed up for public comment.
So if you're ready.
I'm ready, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I will move that we close the public hearing and approve an order approving the changes to the Marion County Solid Waste Rate Schedule as referenced in Exhibit A for disposal sites within Marion County.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, so.
Get that thing open, would you? I wanna-
So I'm going to close that public hearing and reopen our board session. We don't have anything left on our board session agenda, so do you have anything you want to add, Commissioners? before
Of
we-
course I do. Last week was Kaiser Fest. It was super hot and super great. I was there Thursday and Friday, and just really enjoyed seeing folks out and about, enjoying community activities. There were several events in Marion County last weekend. The sheriff and I were talking, I think on Thursday afternoon or maybe Friday morning, I forget, the number of places we each were gonna be, the couple of days. And then this weekend, again, is Corn Fest in Almsville. Their plans are new this year. G3 is a restaurant in downtown Almsville that's hosting Friday night activities, and then the rest of the activities are Saturday in the park, and they have a parade. And the heat has not killed the corn production this year. I watched the Selector Farms page. Do you guys know what Selector Farms' famous corn is? It's in North County, on your way to Woodburn. I want to say it's like 78th or 82nd or something out off of 99, just past Concomly. Anyway, Easy Orchards carries it, Roth's carries it. It's the best sweet corn I've ever had in my life. And they carry two, white and yellow. And they have a great social media presence. And I was watching, because we've had some issues with cherry harvest this year because of the heat in Marion County, and I was so worried that the corn was going to be impacted, but it's not.
We're going to have good corn.
We're going to have great corn, and on Friday and Saturday you can come to Almsville and get some for free.
Great. Fabulous.
Yeah. I'm sure there's other activities, but that's all I have so far.
Great. Commissioner Cameron, do you have anything?
Oh, well, I didn't get to go to the Kaiser Fest. I was at Skamania for a beautiful wedding.
Oh,
It was gorgeous up there. Have you ever stayed there? You ever been up there? Skamania Lodge?
I've never been there.
It's really neat, and then I took the drive back on the Washington side instead of coming back on 84, and that's a neat little drive as well. But yeah, it was Evan Remington,
that's right.
Fresh and Local Foods.
Yeah.
Her and Aaron got married. It was just one of the best weddings I have ever
That's great.
been to. It was
That's
really
wonderful.
cool the way they did it. Yeah.
Speaking of Evan, for some reason AJ popped into my mind. On Thursday last week, we all had the privilege of going with Jan and the sheriff and the undersheriff across the street to the new YMCA Veterans Housing Ribbon Cutting.
Yeah.
And Alvin, our government affairs, I don't know what his title is, guru, is the chair of the Y right now, and he spoke, and there was like 500 people there at that ribbon cutting. What a fabulous facility. I'm bummed that they can't open until January, because there's an electrical component that's on back order because of COVID, and so they can't move people in because they don't have certain types of electricity over there. It's a beautiful facility. Somebody did say, I don't know if it was Chuck Adams or one of the other speakers, but they commented on the decorations, which is way outside of my scope of know-how. I don't even have pictures on the wall at my house. It's beautiful. The colors outside, the colors inside. Oh, what are they called? Interior designers.
There you go.
They
Well,
got,
I think I'm marrying one.
I think you are
Oh, my
too.
gosh.
Yes, Vicki is very good at picking
She's-
out all the things.
Yeah.
I'm not.
What she did to our lake house and to this house is amazing, yeah.
Yeah, but it was great. Senator Wyden was here for that ribbon cutting,
Yep.
and former Senator Peter Courtney. I just think it's important to talk about that facility. I think it's beautiful, and I'm excited to see it get open and to house veterans who, served our country.
It'd be nice if we could take the building on this side of the Y and put some housing in there too.
I agree.
Just sits there,
Yep.
yeah.
That whole area, though, has gotten much better.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
Is
last,
that-
that's the
is
last
this-
building.
Is the Statesman Journal building in the urban,
I don't know, it's a city question.
yeah, I have to find out, ask
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, what else was last week? Yeah,
Okay,
it was good.
Okay.
all right, with that, we're adjourned.
Happy.
Thanks, everybody.